Well, to cut right to the chase, the Nephilim are the progeny, the offspring of fallen angelic beings and earth women, women of the earth. And they create, when they come together and they procreate, they basically, the offspring is some sort of a hybrid. It's part fallen angel, so it's got the DNA of a fallen angel. It's basically an eternal entity, but it also has a human side to it, and this is what the Nephilim are. This is a classic definition of it. People who track with this stuff, that's what they would say basically it is. But there's a whole bunch of people that don't believe the Nephilim ever existed, or that fallen angels can't somehow procreate with earthly women. Of course, I take issue with that because I think the text is extremely clear, and we see evidence of it. I mean, if we didn't have physical evidence of it, then we could dismiss it as mythos. But we have physical evidence of it, and it's global. Well, it does, and this is the whole thing with the Nephilim. Everything held back to Genesis 3:15, and this is what's so important to grasp: why they're here, and this was sort of the nexus of the entire book, Countermove, how the Nephilim returned after the flood. We know that they were here, but we know that something happens in Genesis 3:15. According to the biblical narrative, Adam and Eve in the garden. You got the dragon over here, and in my opinion, you've got the pre-incarnate Messiah, the pre-incarnate Christ. And he basically says something which sets up the rest of the entire biblical prophetic narrative. He points to the dragon and says, your seed, your offspring, pointing of a dragon, your seed, your offspring will be at enmity, at war, with the seed, the offspring of the woman. That offspring, he, the one coming from the woman's seed, will crush your head. You, the dragon, will bruise his heel. Well, that sets up the narrative. It's, as Gary Stearman would say, it's all about the seed. It's a seed war. It's genetics. It's the offspring of the dragon versus the offspring of the woman, the coming Messiah. And so what does the dragon do? 3 chapters later, he creates the Nephilim. He has fallen angels go down on a mission. They land on Mount Hermon. That mountain is in Israel right now. I mean, you can go there and see it. It's called the Mountain of the Oath. And that whole idea is when these 200 watcher angels come down in the days of Jared, and they take wives. They take multiple wives, and they start to do the unthinkable. They procreate with them, creating this hybrid being, part angelic, part eternal, with the human woman, which becomes the Nephilim. And
so they are earthbound, weren't they?
Well, yes, the Nephilim are earthbound, but the fallen angels are not.
They are not, obviously.
They are not. And this is why it's so imperative, unless we understand what's going on with Genesis 3:15. There's protocols in this ongoing heavenly war, which has been going on for millennia. We have no idea how far back it goes. The protocols are such that, God could blink his eyes and the whole thing could be over. But that's not what he does. So what he does, he allows it to play out. And that's why Genesis 3:15 is so incredible, because here's the prophetic mandate. Well, the dragon sees that, knows someone that's going to come and take his kingdom from him, crush his head, and so what does he try to do? He has one shot. Poison the seed, contaminate the seed of the woman, so that won't happen. And he almost succeeds, except for the 8 people on the ark. Except for the 8 people. The corruption, George, it wasn't a weekend frat party with these guys. It was at least 400 to 600 years they were here, and they completely contaminated pretty much everything.
What did they want? What do they want with us?
Well, it's not what they want with us. They hate us. They want the planet. The dragon wants the planet. The dragon wants Earth. He wants the domain.
The dragon being Satan?
Exactly. And when Adam forfeited his right, he basically gave the title deed of Earth to the dragon. And so what we are engaged in is this war, which has continued literally for thousands of years, and I believe it's coming to a head even as we speak. The stuff that's going on now is absolutely incredible. So it's an ongoing war between the seed of the serpent, the dragon, and the seed of the woman, the one that will come from the woman will crush the dragon's head. That happened 2,000 years ago with the Messiah. Yes, they were all drowned, and this is where this is why I wrote the book, because it's in Christian circles there's all this controversy about this. Well, how did they return if they're all dead? If the fallen angels didn't do it?
Yeah, if it was all gone, how'd they come back?
How did they come back? And this is what's incredible about this. I have read this chapter in the Book of Enoch for years. I mean, like over 30 years I've read this chapter.
Right. And this is new. This is something you discovered, right?
Correct. But it was the Spirit of a living God who. Let me tell you the story, okay, real quick.
All right.
So I'm reading a book, and this guy has written a book about the Nephilim, and he's talking about that somehow one of the women, specifically Ham's wife, one of Noah's son's wives, got on the ark, and she was carrying a Nephilim gene. I never bought that. I still don't buy it. It's absurd. It makes God a trickster. Well, I'm going to kill everybody on the earth and drown them because they're all contaminated with Nephilim DNA on some level. But I'll let one sneak in on the ark. Not buying it. What we see in the Book of Enoch, it says this. And before I give you the punchline, so I'm laying in bed, and I'm kind of talking. I'm praying. I'm going. I can't read Hebrew. I'm not like a biblical scholar. And some people say, well, yes, you are. Okay, well, we can argue about that. But I can't read Hebrew. I can't read Greek. So who am I to really delve into this? And I know this might sound a little woo-woo, but this is the way it works. The Spirit of the living God says, what happens at the end of World War II? And I'm sitting there going, what does this have to do with the Nephilim? And I'm thinking about it, and he goes, what did the Japanese do at the end of World War II? And I don't know. And he said, what about the kamikazes? And I went, oh, my gosh, why did they do that? Because they realized that the war was lost, and this was a last-ditch effort. It was a suicide mission. And then the Lord goes, now turn to the Book of Enoch and read that. And I know it by heart. So Semyazi, this fallen angel, is on Mount Hermon with the 200 watcher angels. Now, this scripture has been in there for like 2,000 years. People have read it, but no one's ever looked at it like this. And Semyazi says this to the fallen angels: I fear that you will not agree to do this thing, and I alone shall have to bear the penalty of this great sin. Semyazi knows exactly what's going to happen, but he does it anyway because he's been promised that there's going to be a jailbreak, you're going to get out, we're going to get you out, this is how we win the war. And so it's a kamikaze mission. And when this happened, when I got that, I ran down, I told Peggy, my wife, and then I got on the phone, and it was in California. So it was 10 o'clock, roughly my time here in California. I called Gary Stearman. It's midnight there, and we talked for an hour on the phone about this. That's how revelatory it was. And what I realized was that suicide mission, they do it again and again and again and again and again until the cross, and then it goes away, and then it changes. And that's where it gets in the prophecy of Daniel, where their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will. It's all about the seed, right? Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to them. So who is the they? Their seed will mingle with the seed of men. It can't be men's seed. So it's a foreign seed. Once again, it goes back into the fallen angels. And this book was sealed up until the end times. It says specifically, Daniel, seal up the words of this book until the time of the end. Men will run to and fro over the face of the earth, and knowledge will increase. That's exactly where we are now. The book is open. People like me, Chuck Missler, others, look at this verse and go, oh, my gosh, we're talking Nephilim. Their seed will mingle. And in the book, Countermove, I take all the information that I just gave you, and, of course, it's expounded because it's a book. But towards the end of the book, I say, well, is this happening now? And it is. The prophecy of Daniel is screaming at us with the abduction phenomena, because that's exactly what happens. The seed is mingled, but there's no marriage. Well, I mean, the quick answer to that is if hybrids are walking amongst us, and I believe that they are, I've talked to people who have had encounters with them. I don't want to have an encounter with them, but I've talked to people who have. And it's very, very unnerving. these entities are modern-day Nephilim, in my opinion. They are a mix of seed. They are a mixture of seed.
Do they know what they are?
Yeah, some of
They
them
do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that they do. But I haven't sat down and talked with one. I just, and I don't. I'm not sure I want to. Well, I mean that's a rabbit hole, and you know I can speculate on that. There's no way to know. The short answer to that is yes, that the whole Luciferian elite, and it's all one big happy little family there. But yeah, I mean there's an agenda. There's a cabal, and it's dark, and it has an agenda, and it's a very managed agenda, and it's controlled by the prince of the power of the air. I think all one needs to do is look at the lawlessness in the world and what's going on and realize that the prince of the power of the air is alive and well and doing his thing.
Is he winning?
Well, he wins temporarily. It looks like he's winning, but he's already defeated. He was defeated at the cross. That changed everything. That's we see the Nephilim appear over and over and over and over again. Josephus, first-century Jewish historian, writes about it, and then it all just kind of disappears. When? After the cross, because it's game over. In fact, there's a paper, I remember Dr. Thomas, my mentor, showed me that paper by this theologian called Bullinger, and I also did some more research on Eastern Christianity, Eastern Orthodox, who talk about the same thing. When and it's in the Bible. When Jesus dies on the cross, most people don't know this, but it's there. When he dies on the cross, he goes to the lower parts called Tartarus. It's the lowest part, and there, according to Bullinger, it's a proclamation to the fallen angel.
Now, what do you mean it's the lowest part?
It's the lowest part. In other words, there seems to be compartments, and this is like the gloomiest dungeon, the lowest part.
Is it like hell?
Tartarus. It's like what?
Hell?
Well, it would be like hell, but it would be even darker and the lowest part. It's called Tartarus.
Huh.
And he's there, and it's a proclamation to those angels that sinned on Mount Hermon. They're bound in chains, but that's why it was a suicide mission. They knew what their fate was. They broke the law. Bam, that's the punishment. But they had been told, this is conjecture on my part, they had been told that there's going to be a jailbreak. You're going to get out. It's going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win. And they were promised stuff in the dragon's kingdom. So when the proclamation, when Jesus, he goes there first, George. He goes there first. And it's a proclamation to those angels, those fallen beings that did the unthinkable in the days of Jared on Mount Hermon and started the Nephilim by mingling the seed. He basically says, no jailbreak. You're not getting out. And that's when everything changes. The dragon, Satan, changes his tactics, and this prophecy ties in with Daniel. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but there'll be no marriage contract, and that's exactly what we see with the abduction phenomenon. It's really interesting. Nephilim, the disembodied spirits, let me put it to you this way. Let's start here. The disembodied spirits of a Nephilim are known as the demons that are disembodied spirits, okay? They're earthbound. They're earthbound and they're in a fixed state. Nephilim hybrids are in a fixed state. As Russ Dizdar would say, he never met a demon, and he does a lot of deliverance, but he's never met one that ever wanted to be saved or changed. So it appears that the Nephilim are in a fixed state. And I don't understand that, but in my opinion, throughout the entire biblical narrative, the only time where we see a finality of judgment comes in dealing with the Nephilim. With human beings, there's always grace and mercy. No matter what you do, there's always grace. There's always mercy. There's redemption. But when the Nephilim are plugged in, it's not. They're unredeemable, in my opinion. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. It's to destroy the seed. Thank you for bringing that up again. It's to basically thwart the prophecy which says that someone is going to come that's going to crush the dragon's head. So they have one shot. It's a suicide mission. If we can contaminate the genome, there will be no one that will crush my head. I win. But that's not what happens.